Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dream Oracle for You. Today is episode number 18, and this is our third guest of 2025. We promise you we will bring you more guests, and we can promise you there are more lined up as we go through the year. And tonight, I'm very excited to have a guest on today, Trevor. It's a friend of Billiana's. And first, I'm going to ask Billiana to say a couple words, and then we'll pass the torch to Trevor so he can let us know who he is and why we're going to talk about dreams. Billiana.
Welcome everyone, those listening, and welcome Trevor. I'm super excited to have him on. Um, when did we meet? A couple of years ago, but maybe 2, 3 years ago, something like that. Yeah, so it's been good. Like every time we catch up and have a chat, we just talk about so many different things, but we never talked about dreams. So this is good to get you on. We can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to learn like what they mean, what they do, like the understanding of like how they work. So I remember saying to you, yeah, Billy, when you were talking about the podcast you girls are doing, and I said it brings up for me a very powerful thing that I heard once from Lao Si. And so apparently he came to his classes one day, and one of his students said, "Oh, master, how did you sleep?" And he said, "Oh, terribly." And he said, "Oh, that's no good." And he said, I had this dream that I was a butterfly." And the student said, "But master, that would be amazing." He says, "No, no, no. For now, I don't know. Am I a man who dreamt he was a butterfly? Or am I really a butterfly who dreamt he was a man?" And so one of the things I wanted to discuss with you girls, as Sarah knows, is I've got aphantasia. So what that means is I can't imagine anything. A red apple, a yellow school bus, a beach, a seagull, right? I can't see it. You tell me whatever. I remember when I was younger, I didn't realize this until not long ago that I've got this thing, aphantasia. I'd listen to all these affirmations and say, now imagine that you're in the car of your dreams and you're going to your dream job. And I'm like, I just see black. Do you know, even when I got my eyes open, oh, imagine I can't. But my dreams are amazing, right? So I'll qualify this with I'm what's known as a doomsday prepper. In truth, I've got qualifications in Aboriginal culture, and I was an outback tour guide for many years. Just so happens my dad and my godfather were spies, and we've gone through COVID. So there's probably a lot of things that have been going through my mind. I'm what's known as a freedom fighter. As people in Canada would, I'm sure, understand what that means and being a pure blood, so on. So I've had some quirky dreams. I killed someone in a dream the other night. Don't like the killing dreams. I've only ever had, I think, 3 killing dreams in my life. They're usually I'm being heavily persecuted, and I'm usually pleading with the people. Even when I'm like, I'm killing them, I'm saying, I told you to just leave me alone. Just let me leave in peace, you know? But what I really love is flying dreams. I haven't had one for a while. Um, Flying dreams, I think, throughout my life have come about when moments of really great opportunity and abundance and whatever have sort of come about. And I have flying dreams where I could be like a rockety thing. I put my arms like this and I'm like, wow. I have dreams where like I can go to the tops of like trees that are like 60 meters tall and I can just jump from tree to tree, you know, like Spider-Man, but I mean like on like a mega scale, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I really want to know how it is that I can't visualize a yellow school bus, a pencil, tell me a tennis ball. But I have dreams that honestly, if you could plug something into my head, this is not an invitation to Elon Musk, but if you could plug something into my head and download my dreams, you could sell movies. The characters, the everything, it's all so woo amazing. I do YouTube, but I couldn't make YouTube as good as what my brain makes things in my sleep. How is that possible that this part, whatever part of my brain it is, can make characters, people I've never seen, amazing concepts, come up with all sorts of things that like my conscious brain probably can't even imagine. And my conscious imagination cannot, if I can't imagine, I've thought to myself, how does an artist before mirrors do a self-portrait? Because they can see they saw themselves in a creek or something and went, "Ooh, that's me." Click, like a photograph. But for me, you tell me anything, and all I see is black. So what I'd really like to know, girls, is what do flying dreams mean? And how is it that sometimes, like, even if you've, you'll fall asleep watching television before I started living off grid. How is it that sometimes you'll be having these crazy dreams and you're sitting there and you're stirring yourself awake and you're like, why am I having this crazy dream that I'm a fish with a fishing hook in my mouth? And then you open your eyes and what's on television? There's a fishing show playing at 2 o'clock in the morning, and like your brain's thought about, oh, I'm a fish. Please explain.
Oh, I'm not sure if we'll have any answers, but definitely a lot of talking points here. First, I will say, totally understand what you're going through with aphantasia. I too have aphantasia. If I were to close my eyes right now, all I see is blackness. I
Yeah.
do believe, though, that aphantasia is something that we as individuals can, um, I don't like the word overcome because I don't think aphantasia is really a problem. I think it's just how our brain is currently wired, and I think that there is a way to make the connections work, if you will. And they clearly work because you have massive vivid dreams, and I too have very vivid dreams when I sleep. It's how I describe it is my dreams are just like I am in reality. Like everything that is happening for me in real life is how it looks to me when I'm dreaming. Um, but yeah, aphantasia, it's very fascinating. Do you actually know the story of how they've termed aphantasia, where it kind of came about? It's been a phenomenon that's been going on for thousands of years, but they've only recently have termed it and started studying it.
No, I don't. Please tell me.
Yeah, yeah. So the story is, I think it happened in like 2015, somewhere around there, where there was a guy who could visualize things in his mind, in his mind's eye during normal waking hours. And he ended up having some sort of brain surgery. And when he woke up from the brain surgery, he could no longer visualize. And he was like asking the doctors, "What did you do? I can no longer visualize in my mind's eye." And that's when they started to study it and they came up with a term for it. And there's a network called the Aphantasia Network online where they basically ask for people to volunteer their their mind for people to study and to do research on it. But that's why I think that it's like a wiring process. There's some kind of connection or something. I have noticed myself in the last year or so, I've really been working on trying to meditate. There is a way to meditate for somebody who can't visualize being on a beach and all that sort of thing. It's basically just about quieting your mind, right? So being able to focus on breathing and stuff. And for myself, when I get in a deep meditative state, I can actually start to see a little bit of color. I'm not sure what the color is. I don't know if it's my aura, if it's like the third eye trying to open. Not exactly sure. Haven't figured out yet what it is, but yeah, it's just a fascinating topic. Why
One of
can we dream? Why do we dream when we have aphantasia, but yet we can't do it when we're awake? Still, still a question mark for me. But I'm on a mission to be able to visualize in waking hours because we can do it at night. Why can't we do it during the day?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I recently read about it, because to me, I'm like a sensitive, new age, crazy conspiracy theorist, hunting madman on the loose. And so, like for me, I'm sort of all of those parts. I'm like the blokey parts. I'm the manifesting parts. And so for me, I started going on a bit of a journey trying to understand. Well, can I overcome this? Because understanding with manifesting and stuff, if you can, start breaking it down, you might, okay, I want this to look like that or whatever. Like people say to me, how do you build all the things? How do you landscape your farm? How do you this? How do you that? How do you build a whole shack that's like a houseboat in 5 days if you can't visualize it? And I'm like, oh man, I just go with it. I just go with it. There is
Yeah.
no sort of plan. I sketch something basic, but like the rest sort of just happens. But one of the things that you might find out, and for anybody that's got and I don't call it aphantasia, I call it aphantasia. If I'm going to have something, then I'm going to have something that sounds cool. Um, so, so for me, it's aphantasia. It makes me sound a little bit more fantastic. Um, and so something that I read was there's actually a bit of a gift in this. So I think in life, I'll qualify this. I think we've all got our own special, unique plate of shit that we have to just chew through. That could be a hard time. It could be, a bad stepfather. It could be whatever. But I think a lot of things God actually puts into our life to help us build and gives us some things and not some other things. So what I heard with aphantasia is, okay, we can't sit there and do all the manifesting affirmation things and see it all and make it all come about snap, snap, right? We've got to try vision boards or a picture or something that we can actually, wallpaper on our phone so that we can actually see that's the house that I want. That's the goal. But here's the silver lining in our cloud. And that is, so anybody who's ever suffered acute depression, for example, the silver lining for people that have been through real tough times, like I had a tough time not seeing my daughter for 2 years with the hardest border lockdowns in the world. Stay at Pure Blood. And then 3 years with going with our local council because they were all very pro all that sort of stuff. So I've lost a couple $100,000 as well on top of that. But I'm thinking, why haven't I got everybody around you? How haven't you given up, Trev? How haven't you given up? Anybody else would have given up. And then I started working out with aphantasia. The silver lining in our cloud is other people, they just visualize the horribleness. They can visualize the picture of them, whatever it is, right? We can't. And that's our gift, you see. That is our gift because other people will get focused on that meeting and replaying 100,000 million billion times the sentence that person said that put the nail in our coffin, or whatever it was. With us, we're like, you see that T-shirt for people with ADHD and it says highway to hey, look a squirrel. That's where we're at. Do you see? It'll get us down and whatever problems or whatever. But unlike other people who will just sit there and just dwell and they can actually see it, they can replay it like a video. With us, we just see what's in front of us. So the trick for us is less triggers and more glimmers. So for us that have got aphantasia, if those things aren't working out the way that we want and it's causing us stress, right, the trick for us is, okay, so what does make you happy? Like me, I see like Billy in town or something, beep, beep, out the window every once in a while. We have a little chit chat. I see her up the hall. She gives me a couple of little baby rosemary plants I add to my garden, right? And I kind of forget that I've been persecuted because of my correct thinking in what happened over the last few years and my advocacy for that. And instead, no matter what they do, I'm still planting trees. I'm planting trees. I'm making a forest. In the end, I'm going to win and have a forest because I'm not sitting there thinking, ah. But that said, I would like to be able to imagine things. I think for me, one of the things when it comes to dreams is really, where is that space? Like if you figure, even like Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, all of these big experts will tell you this is probably a simulation. It's very real. Like when you see me going like this, they're Australian flies, right? They are annoying and they seem really bloody annoying, right? More than that is we've got like the biggest bull ants in the world. They're called Mercia. They're as big as matchsticks. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher in 1800s, in his treatise Will zum Virum, Will to Life, he says, nowhere is the want for survival stronger seen in nature than the Australian bull ant, where in experiments where it's cut in half, a great fight ensues for half an hour between the head and the tail. It's trying to kill itself to stay alive, right? If it bites me on the leg, it will seem so real. I will squeal like a little baby. But a lot of these people are actually saying, this is probably a simulation, and therefore this is all the more critical about for people with aphantasia, for people trying to concentrate on how to manifest, what their dreams mean. I think a lot of people, if we look historically, all the great leaders of the world, they had experts. You would have been somewhere and somebody would have been saying, bring her to me. I had a dream. I need an interpretation of this. I feel that there is going to be locusts and famine. What do I do? And in comes one of the greatest figures from the Bible, doesn't he? And explains it all. And the next thing you know, he gets to be the Pharaoh's number two guy, right? Because there is a correlation. There is clearly some sort of correlation between what our conscious brain sees and perhaps what our unconscious brain doesn't see that it's trying to do. If you've seen that movie Inside Out or Inside Out 2, best self-help videos ever. They're little kids videos, but they explain like who the characters are in your mind, who pulls the strings on the emotions, and particularly like with anxiety and stuff like that, how sometimes you're trying to think through scenarios to work out what you can do. And I actually believe that there's a part of dreams, which historically, we could say that the greatest leaders in the world believe this. And some of the greatest Bible figures were the people that could interpret dreams. So there's clearly something between awake brain and a sleep brain, where a sleep brain is going through scenarios and looking at all the different variables in that part of the energy field, for want of better words. And so I think this is why I'm here with you girls talking about dreams, because it is something. It's not just you go to sleep and your brain does a crazy flip. It's doing something, and sometimes it is of historical significance that will shape the next millennia. Somebody will have a special dream that we know meant something of, a magnitude that can reshape the world and the boundaries of the world and nations of the world and millions of people's lives. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I'm
Totally agree.
yeah, I'm totally there. We've talked about in a couple other different episodes, we've talked about the idea of dimensions and timelines and whatnot in relation to dreams, because I personally believe that we are accessing other dimensions when we're sleeping. And we're kind of, what's the word? We're limited in our 3D reality, I believe. And once you get beyond the 3D reality, you have all these higher level dimensions, and that's all based upon consciousness. And so I think that when we're sleeping, we are accessing these other levels of consciousness or these other dimensions. And time, in a linear sense, is a construct of our 3D reality that we live in. Beyond the third dimension, or I believe it's the fourth dimension, there is no past, present, and future. There's only now. Like time is just all kind of one. And so having these dreams like you're talking about of historical significance, absolutely, because if we are accessing other dimensions, higher level dimensions, then we are accessing all of time in its now existence, I guess, if that kind of makes sense. Does that resonate with you?
That does make sense.
Cool.
That does
Cool.
absolutely make sense. And I think the thing is, you have to figure we're in a really unique sort of time in the world. Like it's hellishly frightening the way that AI and AI robots and all this, surveillance and shit everywhere is everywhere. But on the other hand, there's a lot of sciences that are starting to explain to us how things work and the possibilities of how things could be, that our parents didn't know. My parents did. I have conversations with my daughter who's 8 years old that my parents at 70, in their 70s, probably still aren't even aware of, that some of the greatest minds in the world are like, we think that this is kind of how this works. We don't understand everything inside it, but our observations around it sort of help us understand that this is this kind of construct. We don't know all the formulas, but we've cracked a couple and we've got a few little, but they didn't have that back then. It was a very dumbed down, and I think intentionally dumbed down. I don't know why the Great Reset is culminating with the Great Awakening. I think we are at a very special moment in time. I don't think we're alone in it. I think the world's probably shaken the fleas off the dog a few times in its cycles. But I think that we're in a very, very, very special time. I know that, our great grandparents would say, oh, yes, and I understand because, one day we were riding horses and the next day there was a locomotive, do you know? But we're kind of like, whoop, like way past that. It's the last 100 years of growth. Before that, literally for a couple of thousand years, the growth spurt was like that much. And the last 100 years or so has kind of like done that. And I think, there's more than enough evidence of that out there. My question is, why are we on the crux of, the end? Or are we at a part where we do, much as it sounds trippy, even for a totally like awake, crazy, brave warrior like myself, it is a bit trippy to think, well, perhaps we are about to do that divide into the fifth dimension or something. Perhaps some of us are going to ascend. And I think a part of that is timelines. And I think due to the fact that we now understand our revelation of method and how literally the masters of, and I won't say the universe, but our universe, those who've got, when they did their raids on other tribes and things thousands of years ago, they stole those textbooks that show the decoding of certain things and powers and how you get everybody to construct what you want. I think that perhaps there is a part where a lot of us are getting to that point where we are perhaps about to blip into a fifth dimension. Because, you figure the Aztecs, right, the Mayans that used to, and I've touched the bowl where they used to put the hearts in. That was 500 years ago. Now look where we are, right? Admittedly, it's not that frigging amazing. Oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Look, we're on this machine and I can talk and it shows you on the other side of the world. You're in Canada and you can hear me in real time, or what we call real time. Right? 500 years ago on this table, somebody'd be cutting somebody's heart out and eating because it's going to make them a strong warrior. Do you know?
Yeah.
But really, like where we are is, I think the world has ascended to understand electricity and energy a lot more. As we're probably all aware, Tesla and people like that, there's been multiple people throughout history that have invented like machines, like cars that run on hydrogen. And this is proven, and they drove across America and whatever. And the next thing you know, they've been asked in for a meeting and they've gone screaming out of the building, screaming, they've poisoned me, and dropped dead because somebody didn't want free energy.
No.
The people, not the masters of the universe, but the keepers of our universe that want what they want. They don't want this sort of stuff. So there's obviously some correlation between energy. I'll give you an example, right? So if you can imagine a soda can, as you call it, right? We don't call it a soda can, but people on your side of the world will know what that means, right? So if you imagine what we call a 375 ml can, right? If you can blow all the atoms up in that can to the size of a jelly bean each, you will cover Australia 70 kilometers deep in jelly beans. So what are atoms? What is dark matter? What are all of these things? And I think it comes down to, where are we? I can kid myself. I'm on Pinky Point Farm. This is where the gold rush started in 1853. This is a very historical place. I'm here. But am I really here? Or am I actually somewhere else being simulated from the edge of the galaxy? I don't know. Why am I here? Why is my soul here? And is it, is the Bible, like they say, basic information before leaving Earth? Am I here being tested and being able to grow and ascend? Or am I part of God, who wishes to experience absolutely every single possibility you can possibly do? From serial killer to Nobel Prize to, the world's best crocheter. It's really a fascinating thing when you get to that level. And I think dreams, what you girls are covering, I think this is one of the most important topics, because if you understand the lengths and depths and ends that your mind can go to while you are totally asleep and you have no supposed control over it, because remembering, I think I'm in control of Trevor Andrei. This is my machine. This is my vehicle. This is how I get around the planet, and I pick things up and I put things in my mouth and I talk and I do stuff. but I'm actually a soul in here. I don't know if it's there or in here or, where I am. I don't know if I'm a little glowing blue dot or a white little speckle or something. But I think there's enough sort of understanding that somewhere in this meat and blood and water and bones and hair and nails and shit, there's this conscious entity that somehow identifies with being this guy and going through life. I really think that our dreams are the things that when we pay attention, we can think to ourselves, we need to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Not sure what happened to your camera there, Trevor, but wow, you have a lot to say, a lot of great stuff to say. And I don't know where to start into trying to continue the conversation. There is one thing that stood. Are you just want to check that you're still there and you can still hear us because your camera's out? No, maybe we lost him. Do do do. Billiana, you have anything to say while we're waiting for Trevor to come back?
The one thing I was going to add, like with Aphantasia, um, I think it's like from my like experiences, like I found it hard to visualize probably 3 or 4 years ago, and then before that, I found it really hard to visualize when doing affirmations or meditation, and they're like visualize, a beautiful ocean and you're standing at the edge of the on the beach looking at this ocean. Like I found it really hard to visualize that sort of thing. And as time, I think, taken off layers of myself and understanding myself a lot more, getting rid of all those things that have stopped me from being who I am, it's made it easier for me to visualize. So I don't know if that's connected, but also I was thinking this popped up when Trevor was talking, and could you think about as Aphantasia is more linked to kind of like what's the word, psychic abilities? I just kind of went on my head, but yeah, psychic ability, like how all the different clairs, clairvoyant, claircognizance, and all that sort of stuff. So could it be something like that? We have our strengths in certain areas. We can hear or see better or, visualize. So that's kind of what just popped in when you guys were talking. So that could
Yeah,
be potential. And doesn't mean we're limited with like only, one ability. We can expand and grow on all the abilities, but it could be, aphantasia is like where you're at the moment, your capability at the time. And yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that you brought up that angle of it. That's definitely obviously that's not the mainstream take on Aphantasia, but it's definitely something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. And when we talk about souls and that we come here with a purpose, we have kind of a soul contract and our plan for while we are here. I believe that Aphantasia is part of that. I believe that there is a reason that we choose to come in without being clairvoyant, without having full-on access to our third eye. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. We had to go on a little bit of break, but we think everybody is good to go now. Trevor, while you were gone, Biljana and I were talking a little bit. We were pondering Aphantasia and perhaps its connection to psychic abilities. And I can't remember exactly where we left off, Biljana, but do you want to maybe fill in the details?
So my premise was, well, my thought when Trevor and Sarah, you guys were talking about aphantasia and like your experiences with that, and then it just popped into my head is it maybe related to psychic abilities like the different clairs, clairvoyant, claircognizance, and all that sort of stuff? And people are different and they have different strengths and different own core weaknesses, but they're still abilities you need to learn. And that's why I thought maybe aphantasia is still your ability that you need to work on. And so that was kind of where I we were talking about that. So, and even with aphantasia, I never would have thought of it this way, but for myself, I struggled to visualize a lot, 4 years ago. And I've gotten better at it as I've, I suppose, taken off layers and distortions and all these things that I've been taught growing up through school, family, society. And it's made it easier for me to visualize when I'm doing meditations or anything like that. So I know that was kind of where my thought was going. What do you think about that? Have you got any thoughts on that, Trevor?
Um, yeah, there's two parts to that. So there's been a couple of times in my life where I've entered into like financial agreements, like business partnerships or purchasing my farm, or that where I've got the vibe where I've sort of said to myself, oh, I don't know if I really trust this person or whatever. And then I've like gone, oh no, it'll be okay. And then it's all gone pear-shaped later. And so I think there is a part that A has been trained out of us. And that's for sure. Everything's been trained out of us on purpose and taken away from, our natural instincts. And there's a part that we need to retrain ourselves on. And there's another part where sometimes I say, oh, when I do think, oh, this is really good and it didn't work out, I tell myself, well, I don't know, maybe my gut's got shit for brains. So I don't know. I don't know. It sort of depends on which side you look at the coin, the positive side.
Oh, here
Hello.
we go.
I've figured out what's happened. My phone seems to have suffered a bit of trauma from off-grid charging.
Ah.
Yes, it does. It hasn't really liked a bit of recent off-grid charging that it's had. So when I plug it into like normal charging, there's a glitch in the matrix, which is another thing we should talk about. Have you seen all those videos of glitches in the matrix?
I've seen a couple of them, not many. The most one that I saw was like them like people coming out of a building and then the person just like kind of standing in the middle and not really, interacting with the people going around him.
Oh, there's lots of them out there, and it's a real sort of kerfuffle because uh, because AI and CGI have become so advanced now, we will not know what the truth is anymore. Like literally 2025 is the year where you will not know, was that real? So we sort of have to remember that the coming generations, the next generations, they're not going to be privy. Like I was explaining, I was doing a YouTube with this guy's anonymous the other day, right? And I was explaining to him that when I grew up, the telephone was on the wall with a cord. And even in my teens, people were saying, could you imagine if we could use the power of the sun? You should be able to run things on it. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, thank you for
Thank you.
coming on. Part two will ensue.
Beautiful. All right, beautiful. And can you send me a link when you upload this one?
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely, for sure. We will do that.
Awesome.
definitely.
All right, I'll catch you girls later then.
Okay, awesome.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Trevor. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye girls.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoyed what you've heard so far of episode 18. This has been spontaneous for us. We've had some technical difficulties and we've decided we are going to continue this episode as a part two in the coming days. So please stay tuned for part two, where we will dive deep and we will travel far and wide as we cover so much ground and so much air, dimensions. Who knows what else we'll talk about with Trevor Andrei. We look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to being present for you guys in the next part of our episode. In the meantime, do keep on dreaming until you hear from us again.